What's up, guys? Here to give my further thoughts on Tony Thompson's knockout of David Price. Today, Tyson Fury pretty much weighed in on it, and you knew he was going to have something entertaining to say about this. And he said, when I was an 18-year-old novice and he was a 24-old fully fledged amateur international, I put him on his seat, and I knew this would happen because he's a fraud. All right, so that's pretty much what Tyson Fury had to say about this. And this is really interesting, man. A lot of people are just really shocked about this. My shock about this just comes to the fact that it happened so. I didn't expect it to happen at this point, but I knew it was bound to happen. But not at this point, not at this stage in the game, and not to Tony Thompson. I didn't see Tony Thompson. He was so out of condition. Especially if you watch the weigh-in. I mean, he was just so out of condition. Not too many people really saw Tony Thompson pulling off this fight. So definitely was a shock there. But yeah, David Price got knocked out, and the question that people are asking is what's next for David Price. People are wondering if he could bounce back. And I don't know. This is going to be really interesting to keep an eye on because here's the thing. I hear people trying to compare this situation to Lennox Lewis, Amir Khan. I mean, I'm just hearing so many different comparisons. I mean, we have seen guys get knocked out and come back from knockout losses. But, I mean, have we really seen a guy with the pedigree of David Price get knocked out at this stage in his career? I mean, those guys were world champions. They were on the world stage at least by the time that this happened. And Price still never has got off the domestic stage level. And for this to happen so early against a guy that he was really supposed to go in there and look really good against, then man, it's crazy, to say that this was a guy that people were saying was going to beat the Klitschko's at some point. Now, I always thought that the best UK heavyweight is David Haye. I still think that. I don't know why a lot of people are really down on David Haye. I mean, I understand, a lot of people don't like David Haye, but I think he's the best UK heavyweight. I do. I think he beats Fury. I think he beats Price. I think he beats, a lot of heavyweights, not named Klitschko for the most part. I think he's up there, so that's who I think the best UK heavyweight is. Now, the bright side of this knockout happening is that we could finally get some entertaining fights. People are going to be a lot more willing to fight Price, which is good. And Price is in a position that if a big fight comes his way, he just kind of has to take it. Because here's the thing with David Price. And I'm going to answer the question of, do I see him coming back? The problem that David Price has is everyone that fights David Price now is really going to be on the attack. Everybody who fights him. I mean, if you saw the Matt Skeleton fight, Matt Skeleton thought he knew the recipe to beat David Price, which is pretty much get on the inside because the guy's got no inside game, and his movement is really awkward in there, You could just tell by the way he would move around the ring that he was a guy who really doesn't like getting hit, okay? And he really wasn't a guy who was in there, standing in the pocket and really willing to trade with guys, So I think the recipe is pretty much out there right now at this point. And I think any fear that anybody had of this guy is gone. The intimidation factor is really gone. And the fact that it's gone this early in Price's young career, because, I mean, he's an older guy, but he's still got a young career. And the fact that the intimidation factor is already gone at this early stage in his career, that's a problem because now you're putting him in the ring with guys that he's supposed to beat, whether it's journeyman, whether it's just a young prospect, whatever, you're putting him in there with these guys, and these guys are going to have no fear of David Price. So at this point, I'm thinking they got to cash out. I'm thinking you got to cash out and you got to start looking for some big fights. I do. I think you got to take some chances and put him in there with maybe the like of a Derek Chisora or something and hope that he could get the win. I really do. I think you can't groom him at the same pace you were grooming him at before. Because say he gets in there with the like of a Tony Thompson again and this happens, he's finished. He's done. I mean, there's people who think he's done right now. But my thing is you just got to cash him out. I think you got to get him in there with somebody who's got a good name, and you got to just go after the big fights. You know, the question is, like I said, are guys gonna be still willing to take the risk of fighting him? We'll see. Maybe you give him one little fight just to get his feet wet again, and then you go ahead and you just throw him out there. This right here is my problem with promoters taking their time with fighters. This is why I hate it when promoters sit there and take their time with fighters. Okay? When a fight presents itself, when a big fight presents itself, you take the fight. How many times have we seen this happen in boxing? So many fights that were supposed to happen that never happened. These promoters, I'm really glad that this happened. I really am, because I'm sick of these promoters trying to take their time, build up these fighters without taking any risk at all. There's few promoters out there. There are a few out there that do take risk with their fighters, and those are the promoters that I respect. I don't respect the promoters that want to give their fighters a cakewalk to the top just to kind of insure their money. There is no insurance in boxing. There's no insurance. There's no guarantees in boxing. This is a sport where one punch changes a fight. And that's why when people make predictions like they're positive of the outcome, I just think it's funny, and when people say, oh, this fight's a really bad fight, this fight's a good fight, you really never know at the end of the day what could happen. But this is why you just got to take risk at the end of the day. At some point, you have to step up and take some risk. And maybe now we're going to see some better fights happening. It's going to be really interesting. Same thing goes with Tyson Fury as well. Tyson Fury's fighting Cunningham, which is a good fight. It's a risky fight. But at the end of the day, Tyson Fury better not go the David Price route, and he better go ahead and try to fight some really top-notch competition very quickly. Because at the end of the day, you never know when you could take a bad loss. And Tyson Fury could easily get derailed in this fight versus Steve Cunningham. So once again, man, this is a sport. Just like anything else, you have to take risk if you want real success, okay? You take small risk, you're going to get little success, okay? So all I'm saying is these boxers got to step up and let the best fights happen. In my opinion, like I said, the best UK heavyweight is David Haye. You guys can let me know what y'all think about that. What do y'all think about David Price? Do y'all see David Price being able to bounce back from this? Who do you guys think is the best UK heavyweight? And who do you think is the best heavyweight at this point to really challenge the Klitschko's? A lot of people are saying Kubrat Pulev. I think he's one of the best heavyweights too. There's Deontay Wilder. I'm not sure about Deontay Wilder. I think he's a great heavyweight. But that being said, I have questions about him too. I think he's obviously got the power. But as we saw with David Price, that's just not all it takes. And a lot of these young guys, man, they don't get built the right way. They don't get tested at the right time, man. These promoters just throw them in there, with punching bags. And then when they fight somebody that finally decides that they're going to stand up to them and punch back, they have no idea what to do. It's just new territory. So we'll see what happens with this heavyweight division. But this is definitely shaking the landscape a little bit, and I love it. You guys let me know what y'all think. Peace.